When it comes to unrequited love, who did it better, Pen or Ken? We're doing a Barbie versus Bridgerton, and if you stay until the end of this video, you're going to hear about the sequel to Barbie and Bridgerton 3. Let's get into it.
Barbie has a great day every day, but Ken only has a great day if Barbie looks at him.
Hi, Barbie!
Hi, Ken!
Oh, just the way he lights up when she talks to him. He's so smitten, but it's also that like all he can think of to say is hi, and he's not really saying much else. But it does seem to be how they interact a lot in that world.
Pen,
Oh, Colin!
we did not get a chance to speak this morning.
We did. I said Colin, but then again, there was nothing of note.
Love that. Oh, again. And Pen, like that joy of and her lighting up when she sees Colin. And they're both very smitten with their other, and Ken with Barbie and Penelope with Colin. And I think in this situation, like Penelope, even though she does have these funny conversations where she barely says much and she's a bit awkward, a lot of the time she actually speaks pretty eloquently with Colin. It's amazing the amount of stuff she says to him, and she also writes with him. She does have this relationship with him. In contrast, Ken is quite bumbling and comes out with all sorts of random stuff. So in terms of unrequited love, who's doing it better, I'd say Penelope on the side, because she can actually like properly talk with him.
Looking good, Barbie.
Thanks, Ken.
Wow, you can really see the jealousy coming out in Ken. You know, it's like, hold my cup, I'm going in there, sort of thing. And the thing is with Ken and Barbie, they are supposedly boyfriend-girlfriend, and yet Barbie's kind of treating everyone the same as Ken, which understandably is hard for her.
That Mr. Colin Bridgerton shall be awarded the year's grand prize when he sweeps Miss Thompson off her pretty little slippered feet.
Oh, yeah. And in this case, we've got Penelope and her cousin and Colin are having a bit of a thing there going on, and she's feeling jealous, understandably, but I like that she's just kind of letting them have their relationship there, because Colin isn't in a relationship with Penelope, and so she's staying back because that's not there. With Ken, Barbie is supposed to be his girlfriend, and so her kind of just dancing away with all the other Kens and stuff, I can understand him kind of being a bit off about that. But yeah, so I think Penelope's in a better situation, but I think she's handling it better than Ken does. He seems like pretty wound up when anyone interacts with Barbie that isn't him.
What are you doing here?
I'm coming with you.
Did you bring your rollerblades?
I literally go nowhere without.
Oh my gosh. So she's setting off and he's jumped in and he's like, I'm going with you. And it's quite hard because she doesn't want him. She says actually that he'd slow her down. And so it's quite difficult for him that she's not wanting him to be involved in her going about. Again, supposed to be boyfriend, girlfriend, and she's just heading off without him, without a second thought really about how he would feel about that. And so that's interesting. Yeah.
Something I wish to tell you as well, Pen. I'm leaving. First thing tomorrow morning. It was actually you who inspired me. You kept reminding me how much I longed for travel.
It's interesting, this is a very similar situation where he's heading off and Penelope's gutted that he's leaving, but it's interesting in this case she's not finding a way to go with him. She's letting him go and do that, and I think there's a certain grace to that. It's hard for her that he's heading off, and she kind of wanted him to stick around and for them to start something, but she's kind of letting him do that. And it's interesting that she actually really inspired him to go off and travel, and I think it's one of the big differences with Penelope. She does seem to inspire Colin, whereas Barbie just kind of sees Ken as a bit of an afterthought.
Where I see love, she sees a friend. What will it take for her to see the man behind the tent and fight for me?
Oh, I love Ken. He's so cool with I love those dance sequences. They're hilarious. And it's so hard for him, you know, he's in love with her and she just sees him as a friend, and understandably he's kind of going, what do I have to do for him to see underneath the tan, the man under the tan, and fight for me. But yeah, he's really desperate for her to actually want him and to fight for him, and that's just not happening in this situation for him, which is sad.
You courting the girl, Bridgerton?
Are you mad? I would never dream of courting Penelope Featherington. Not in your wildest fantasies, Fife.
And that's really sad for Penelope to hear that, and really hard hearing that, because she's crazy about Colin and she's kind of thinking that maybe there's something there, and then he goes and says that to his friends, just kind of dashing his hopes. And they're both really in love and wanting to have a relationship, but the other person just not being on the same page. And I think the difference between, and what Ken could learn from Penelope, is Penelope takes that and she really seems to move forward with it and kind of have these dreams for her own life. And especially going into season 3, I can see her really being more focused on, I've got to do the things that are important, and I've, you know, got to let go of the Colin thing and move forward and find my happiness and find my freedom. And it's also quite great that Ken has that conversation with Barbie so that he can do that as well.
My purpose will challenge me to be brave and witty. My purpose, she'll set me free.
I just don't know who I am without you.
You're Ken.
But it's Barbie and Ken. There is no just Ken.
And that's the thing, we've got Barbie and we've got Ken, and he's having to learn what it is to be Ken without Barbie, and Penelope is having to figure out what her life looks like if maybe Colin isn't in the picture. And they're both going through this unrequited love. I think Penelope is doing the best out of the two of them, actually, but she's a very different situation. Poor old Ken thinks he's in a relationship with Barbie, and he really isn't. Like, he's nothing more than really an acquaintance to her with the way she treats him. But he's set up with this idea that they're supposed to be a couple, and so it's a lot harder for him, because for him, I feel it's more of a breakup. It's a breakup from a relationship where he was never something to her. Whereas for Penelope, she's on the other side of the coin, where she's been a friend. She's been in the friend zone for a long time with Colin. And we know that in season 3, that is going to change. There's going to be that shift. But I think still, she's had to get to the place where she realizes she needs to develop herself. She needs to focus on what's important to her, and realize that that might not include Colin. And I think that's actually what makes her more desirable to Colin, as I've talked about in previous videos. And in that final one, when she's talking about her dreams, you can just see the way that he admires her for that, and he's being drawn to her for that. And I think Ken needs to take a leaf out of Penelope's book and go out and create something for himself, become something that he is proud of. And yes, realize that he is enough without Barbie. He doesn't have to have Barbie to be good enough. And the cool thing though is, because Barbie and Ken have had this separation where Barbie's going to the real world, Ken stayed in Barbie land, it actually sets it up really nicely for Barbie 2, where we're still going to be able to see Barbie land if we follow Ryan Gosling's character Ken, and we're going to be able to see the real world if we follow Barbie. And I think there's some really interesting things that could happen there. This movie has hit over $1 billion in sales from the box office, and so the movie studio and Mattel are going to want to make the next movie, going to want to make that. If they can get Margot Robbie on, if they can get Ryan Gosling to do that next movie, I think we have something big, because Barbie Land will still have that great main actor character in Ryan Gosling and Ken. He's got these cool relationships with the other Ken, and I think he's going to lean more into his bromances, because and his friendships with the other Kens, because I think those are what is going to make life meaningful. And those Kens need to find a way of being in the world that doesn't necessarily revolve around their Barbies. And then we've got Margot Robbie's character, who's going to be in the real world, and she's going to be finding out what real life, what being a human is. And it's going to be that trope of Born Yesterday situation, because she's so childlike and she doesn't understand the world. And so there'll be a lot of comedic things that can happen, like when she went to visit the world, actually living there and doing life in the real world, having to make her own breakfast and drink and actually get dressed. all these things are going to be quite humorous, and I think there's so much material there. It's interesting that the director has even now come out and said that she wants to go back to Barbie Land. So I think there's great hopes for another Barbie, number 2, and we definitely know that Bridgerton's coming and we're going to see Colin and Pen getting together, but how that's going to happen is going to be fascinating. If you want to know my predictions on how Pen and Colin are going to get together and how that's going to work out, you can check out the other video that should be showing on the screen. And yeah, if you enjoyed this, please comment, please tell me whether you are a Barbie or a Bridgerton, and I want to hear the battle in the comments for who thinks that is Barbie your favorite or Bridgerton. I am still a Bridgerton fan. I'm going with Bridgerton, but it was a very entertaining movie, the Barbie movie.
Looking good, Barbie.
Thanks, guys.